So thank you for joining the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Ayodele Ozubaku. Today on the Hangout, Atiku Abubakar visits Ibrahim Babangida, restates call for the restructuring of the country. Babatunde Fashola disowns 2 billion regional housing padded budget. And later on the program, Presidential Committee says 108 billion naira is required to feed internally displaced persons in the Northeast every year. I'll be joined by Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Yomi Olomofe. So if you are ready, let's start the Hangout now. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is in the news again. This time, he was in Niger State to see General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. They met behind closed doors. No journalist was allowed in, but he didn't leave the venue without giving them something to write about. He said, to restructure Nigeria, Nigerians have to decide. This is a shift from his earlier position when he advised the federal government to dismantle the system and employ a template that works. Critics say Atiku's statement showed that he has given up on the federal government to restructure the country and is already playing the cards ahead of 2019 elections. Would Atiku be willing to honestly restructure Nigeria if he were President Buhari's shoe, or this is just another glip? Julie, there's always this soundbite. Anytime, Atiku has been quiet, but anytime the political tempo is getting higher, and anytime it's close to another election or when they want to start their political, Atiku will always drop a standby. People like Olusegun Obasanjo, they will always drop something for people to think about. The first time he did so was, I think, 6-7 months ago when he said, there's no other way out for the country than we have to restructure the country. First of all, what is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar up to?
Atiku is a latter-day convert to the ranks of pro-restructuring in our country. For many years, he never talked about restructuring. He never saw anything good about restructuring. He is probably the most prepared for the #1 job in Nigerian history.
Yes, I think we've said it before.
He's prepared. He has, in his view, the answer to all the problems, confronting Nigeria today. But I've read so many things that Atiku has written about Nigeria and how Nigeria can be fixed. Until a few months back, I didn't see where he talked about restructuring.
At all.
Because, and that is why people want to suspect, him at this time, that what is he really up to? Is he doing this because he wants to gain attention? It's all this part of his bigger plan to inherit the seat currently occupied by President Muhammadu Buhari. I think that Atiku, it just happens to be the wrong person pushing for restructuring. Otherwise, if someone else were pushing for restructuring, Nigerians would take him seriously. But most Nigerians are too suspicious of Abubakar.
The motive.
Yes, and his motive really. And if you never made a habit of pushing for restructuring, and you just suddenly began to talk about restructuring, even pushing for it these days much more than those who have almost made a lifetime, of pushing for it. So what really?
If he actually has seen the situation and looking at it, he didn't push for restructuring when he was the vice president of the country for 8 years, and looking at it from like an outsider and checking that things are deteriorating and the present structure cannot work. And it's taking him now to realize that, look, I didn't see it from this perspective before. I was in the villa for 8 years, but right now I'm outside. With the templates, this template cannot just work.
Ayo,
to be fair to him.
He left the villa in 2007. If he's just realizing now that it cannot work, then that says a lot about him. He's been in this business for many years. Many years. So it shouldn't be now that he will be telling us that he just realized that restructuring is best for Nigeria. You see, the people, Atiku has had so many shakes of the presidential dice, but he may well turn out to be the most prepared Nigerian for the presidential seat who never got it. Because I honestly don't think that the overall view of Nigerians have changed about him. Let someone else push for restructuring. You see the way Nigerians will react. But Nigerians are wiser. They know it now that it is not every time that someone promises something that he will be able to do it. Because some of this is talking about restructuring. To let restructuring happen, certain things must happen. Even the constitution has to be amended.
That's even
there will be substantial amendment to the constitution to let certain things happen.
It's all about constitutional amendment to allow those things to happen.
So it's not as easy.
It's
not as easy as is portraying it. And I also do not think that restructuring will end the problems confronting our nation. There are some problems confronting our nation currently that a million restructuring will not solve those problems.
It's just who you are, Yomi. Now, there have been some people. There were some people in the south, especially southwest axis. They were at the vanguard of restructuring Nigeria, and the people in the north, you know, they've been indifferent about this call to restructure Nigeria. Immediately, the Action Congress of Nigeria, and they came into APC. Immediately, that merger was, and since this government came to power, the noise from the southwest about restructuring has actually declined.
Well, Ayo, let me start by saying that people will gauge the mood of the nation and they will want to key into that aspect of it that majority of the people in the country wants to hear the most. Right now in this country, what are the issues trending? Restructuring, fixing the economy, regionalization. And if a politician in the mold of Abubakar Atiku fails to key into and, you know, play up the tone, the theme.
If you remember, it was even one of the earliest
the theme
caller.
Now, however, it's one thing to, you know, dance, you know, use body language and all of that to dance towards being an advocate of restructuring, just to, you know, as is wont to be, just to gain power, gain access. But for me, I think people like Abubakar Atiku really and truly, by now, should just look at how else they can utilize the vast resources that are somehow befallen them in fixing specific problems of the people around them. You find that this man, for 2 terms, he was our vice president. And he was vice president
and was in charge of the economy.
About the best time of our economy in the last 20 years or so, so to speak. Now, between 1999 and 2007, you were there, you had a free reign. He was in charge of our economic team. He was in charge of privatization, he was in charge of this, he was in charge of that. All of these things.
A very strong vice president.
All of these things.
They brought so many people into the government.
What came of it? What came of it in specific terms? What accrued to the people in his region in specific terms? So when he's coming out now to dangle the same carrot that he knows people want to list, and again I look at his visits to IBB, I have had cause to ask questions. The kind of bland and blind and the clueless response he gave to the very vital issue of restructuring that he's trying to ride on its crest. His alarm is surprising. He said the people must have, that for me, I think that's totally banal.
No, but I personally, he has the right to visit General Babangida.
No doubt.
Why will the media play up this? He can visit anybody he likes.
Babangida just returned from
medical checkup.
So maybe he just went there to.
So why will the media want to
say welcome? How are you feeling?
You see, what I think the media should do with opportunities like that, as we all know, some of these things are really actually orchestrated. But I think people should make efforts to secure even personal engagement with him, to drive further some of the allusions that have been cleverly hinted at, in the course of that visit. Now, nobody's going to be doing that. We're going to wait until he identifies another opportunity for razzmatazz, and then utilizes the opportunity to drop this inordinate, for me.
Okay, Jide, let's look at his performance in the last primary election, because we know that he actually contested the primaries of the All Progressive Congress with some heavyweights, and we thought if there's any man to beat the one you refer to as the super tanker, was going to be Atiku Abubakar, but he came distant third in that particular exercise. And
those who thought that Atiku will spring surprises are probably unaware of the fact that his political fortune has continually ebbed in the last few years. Atiku is no longer the Atiku that we used to know politically. Now, talking about the primaries of the presidential primaries, do you know that even the Adamawa delegates refused to vote for Atiku? Atiku lost.
I was shocked.
The delegates didn't vote for him.
I was shocked.
The delegates from his state refused to vote for him. So, and if you cannot claim the delegates from your own states, where you
not even your region.
Yes, where you have industries and all that, because he has invested heavily, especially in Yola, Faro Water, he has a university and all that. If you cannot get your own people to vote for you in the presidential primaries, and your people left you and prefer to go and vote for Kwankwaso, then it means that you have lost your political base.
Okay, Jide, let me quickly take this break. When we come back, we'll talk more. You're still on to Journalist Hangout, reaching you live from Television Continental here in Lagos, Nigeria. We'll be right back after this time out. Welcome back. It's still Journalist Hangout when we're looking at the visit of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to MENA, insisting that Nigeria needs restructuring. Jide, we're talking about the political fortune of Atiku Abubakar.
Yeah. You can imagine when the APC holds governorship primaries in Adamawa State, and Atiku, who is supposed to be the biggest political figure in Adamawa State, cannot produce the governor, cannot produce the winner of the APC primaries, because Jubrila Mohammed Bindo was not his candidate.
At the initial stage.
Yeah, he was not his candidate. Bindo switched to his camp after Bindo became governor. And even now, nobody is certain that Bindo will remain in his camp. So I really don't know what the problem is. You see, he's a man with tremendous resources. He has business interests in Nigeria, in Congo, so many places. Extremely rich man. But it appears that his obsession with the presidency of Nigeria has made some people hungry, especially in the north, that when you talk about Atiku, people don't think that he deserves to be president. Remember in 2011, northern leaders led by Adamuchi Roma came together and organized a kind of screening.
Yes.
Atiku came tops over even IBB.
Yes.
And the rest of them. Atiku came tops. But what resulted from there? He was thoroughly beaten in the primaries, and he started threatening hell and brimstone.
Was beaten by Goodluck Jonathan.
Goodluck Jonathan.
Yes, I remember that.
So it has not been easy to for him to rally the people that matter, the people who have got what it takes to win elections. He has not been able to rally them to his side, especially in northern Nigeria. And if he does not sort out the north, there is no way that he can be sure that he will clinch the south.
The south.
So for now,
or can he be trusted within his friends from the south?
You would say that someone who chose to marry a southerner from the Ijesha land, for example, you know, and who refused to force his wife to convert to Islam, you would want to think that that person is.
He also has contact with the East. I think the second wife also, Jennifer also.
Yeah, the one from NTA. You want to think that that kind of person has built bridges across the country. Yeah. But it is true he has friends across Nigeria. If Atiku becomes the president, some of the problems that the current president faces, whereby he does not even know
who to choose.
Atiku will not have that problem. No doubt about it.
Because it's so cosmopolitan.
Yes. He's done business here. He was area administrator of customs here in Lagos. He has done business across the country. He knows people. But translating that to political preeminence has been extremely difficult since he left that seat as vice president. His political career, his political fortunes have been going steadily down. That is the fact.
Okay, Jide, I'll come back to you to look at what is responsible, his relationship between him and his former boss. Then, when you want to see the way it is now, Atiku Abubakar, every 4 years, since the days of SDP, he is always coming out. And when you want to look at his steadfastness and what he has done in terms of track record, if Nigerians, if they look at consistency and track record, don't you think it's advisable to look the way of this man and look at his credentials?
Well, I may not think so. Why I may not think so is that, you see, sometimes when Providence smiles on us, we then tend to get carried away. This fellow was governor. He was picked from having freshly won the governorship elections to be the vice president to Chief Obasanjo. And we all are living witnesses to how that era panned out. I think the outcomes of 1999 to 2007 has not been adequately trashed by Atiku. And I think because he has not trashed those outcomes properly, it's like an albatross. And hard as he is trying to, prepared as he appears to be, because one must actually objectively give it to him, he's been fairly consistent in terms of having his eyes on the ball.
Media is top notch.
But I think really and truly, Yayo, our client should begin to do politics of consensus acceptance. Let the people say, look, there is this man here who is good, who is rich, who is resourceful, who is this and this and this and that.
I think that was
Let's give him a shot.
What happened to General Buhari. It was just a general consensus across the north.
And then you find that
it is Buhari or nobody.
You find that he's also, in these latter days, beginning to display some inconsistencies. This restructuring thing this restructuring kite that he's trying to fly.
That his people might not
buy it.
Not only his people alone, Nigerians may not buy it. Jide has some very valid points by the fact that he has deliberately gone across the divide to pick his spouse. He has also
he might not be
he has things going. He has things going. Look at you.
So sometimes it comes with where you work.
Custom officer.
I know people.
They are very cosmopolitan.
No, I know people who will say, look, certain areas for certain considerations, forget it. You understand? Considerations like we're looking at here. Marriage, spouse, permanent resident, even business, citing of business interests.
It shows how liberal.
He's just a liberal man.
Now, not
He's
that
a very liberal
we're
man.
giving all of that to him, but we're now also saying that Nigerians have been taken for a ride on a number of
Is it that he will not be able to do the job? Because
he's one of the most prepared for that office. Let me say, Jide, do you know that he's one of the first set of politicians that took the social media by the scruff of the shirt and optimized the capabilities of the social media platforms. So in terms of preparedness, one can give that to him. But it's not about preparedness alone. It's also about acceptance.
Trust.
It's also about being seen as genuine. It's about coming across to the electorate as somebody that can be
across board.
He's done some carpet crossing that may also be in view for certain decision makers. And all of this, if you add them together, might be like some little drawback for him.
But Jide, his relationship with his former boss. In 1999, 2003, Atiku till now, I've not seen a vice president, not Namadi Sambo, not Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, was as strong as Atiku Abubakar. He was practically ruling the country between 1999 to 2003. What went wrong?
You see, when Obasanjo picked him, Obasanjo said he asked him publicly, I remember seeing him on TV say, will you be loyal? Will you be loyal? Obasanjo publicized that issue. He wanted Atiku to affirm loyalty in the full glare of Nigerians. Now, after I gave him all the power, remember people like the short man who is the governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, came into the Obasanjo administration through Atiku Abubakar. Yes. He brought a lot of quality people, into the administration. But Obasanjo has an elephantine memory that he deploys in a very negative manner. Obasanjo does not forgive. And sometimes I ask myself.
Jide, let me quickly pick this call. I have Okoje calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Okoje.
Yeah, my name is Prince McDonald Okoje.
All right.
Now, let me quickly say this. By 2007, it was this same Atiku Abubakar who suggested that when he wins the presidency, he will establish the Niger Delta Ministry, which means from day one, Atiku has always been thinking about restructuring, establishing the Ministry of Niger Delta, which the late president, Yar'Adua, took over. Secondly, Atiku Abubakar has been consistent in his pursuit for this issue of governance of this country. He is not doing that because of his personal gain. I am not holding brief for him, but I am aware that in the Niger Delta area, Atiku has more than 50 to 60,000 workers working on that intel.
Well, thank you, Okoje. Thank you, Okoje. Jide, I wanted to land on your point. Let's just keep our sight on the ball. What you were saying.
Yes, you see, Obasanjo does not forgive. Obasanjo does not forgive. He holds a church in Abeokuta, and he has a personal church in Abeokuta now. But one of those things that God requires from us is that we forgive people. Obasanjo finds it extremely difficult to forgive people. And he has refused to forgive Atiku. Even when he quarrels with his own children, you will see him writing a book abusing his own children in his books. So Obasanjo will do whatever it takes to ensure that Atiku does not become president. You know, Atiku had to fight through the law courts.
Yes.
And he defeated Obasanjo
when
so
his
many
seat
times.
was almost declared vacant.
Yes, on the Supreme Court had to rule that, look, it's a joint ticket. You cannot sack your deputy. You are jointly elected. You know,
you're not superior to him. You're just...
Maybe what happened in 2003, when those governors met in the Akwa Ibom Lodge at that time, Victor Atta as governor, when they met and said, look, agree to be the president, we will support you. People like the man from Ogara.
Ibori?
Yes, Ibori. They were all there. The governors wanted him to replace Obasanjo. The decision of the Atiku refused to agree to their demand. And it looks like a decision that will haunt him for the rest of his life. Because Obasanjo that he chose, Obasanjo eventually had to beg him, he held his leg. Say, Atiku, don't betray me. Obasanjo pleaded with him. But in the inner recesses of Obasanjo's heart, he was planning to deal exceedingly well with him.
It's very interesting. The story is very interesting. We'll take this commercial break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. We're still on Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Stay with us. Although we have like 3 topics, but Jide, this first one looks so revealing, and I'm tempted not. So, dissecting Atiku Abubakar, why things that will work against him. Yomi, just give us an insight that he has this trust issue.
See, before we go into that,
you were talking about
what
transpired in 2003.
In politics, you make hay when the sun shines. You excel.
You didn't utilize that opportunity.
You excel during your day in the sun. I'm telling you that the decision not to supplant Obasanjo, because with all those governors behind him, there's nothing Obasanjo will have. Obasanjo cannot win an election on his own. Yeah. Up to now, he doesn't have electoral value.
He has no structure.
No structure, no political structures anywhere. You know, somebody brought out of prison, you come and become president. He wasn't building structures in the way.
It's still not
those, up till now, he doesn't have structures.
You can't win Abeokuta.
You cannot, even when he was president, people like the man with the extravagant cap, who is governor of Ogun State, was always beating him in the Owu area. You can imagine, with AMPP back then, Amosun was always defeating him in Owu. No, so he doesn't have that political value, you know. But Obasanjo has what many people do not have, and he still has it. When he talks, he can cause other people to take decisions against you as a candidate. He may not be able to mount the soapbox and campaign, but when he talks, the international community listens.
Yeah.
He can turn your own friends against you ahead of an election. So Atiku refused to supplant him. He pleaded with Atiku. Atiku listened. But it looks like the worst decision that Atiku has taken. Because the man that he listened to has chosen not to forgive him. As we can see in different books that Obasanjo has written, he continued to attack his deputy.
And he has given
remember when Obasanjo wanted to launch his book, he invited Atiku. Atiku was even going to attend until someone told him that there's a chapter dedicated to abusing you. So Atiku had to quickly take a decision to stay away.
Well, for me, I think Atiku has a constitutional right for as many number of times as he wants to take a shot at whatever elective office in our land. But I think it would be good for him to try and address the heavy albatross of trusts, especially amongst those who matter the most. Those who matter the most will include statesmen like Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, as Jide have said, and a host of others who Atiku must have to
win their confidence
get their consent.
That would be quite difficult.
Looking at 2019.
It's like riding a bicycle on Loluma Rock.
That would be quite difficult.
Otherwise, it's quite good.
We have to move on, gentlemen. Another
good.
Shameful episode of budget padding saga is unfolding. Now, yesterday, the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, shocked the Senate when he said that he knew nothing about the $2 billion naira listed as regional housing scheme by the Ministry of Finance in his 2017 budget proposal. He indicted the Ministry of Finance for the miraculous projects, and the Finance Minister, Kemi Adeosun, has been summoned. How is this monumental fraud happening in a government that is fighting corruption, we are back to the 2016 seat again. If 2 billion naira, a minister is coming out that he cannot account for it, it doesn't know about it, and it was injected by the finance ministry.
Yeah, well, Ayo, let's quickly understand certain things here. Intrigues are ongoing. If between two ministers who should have synergy, because what I see primarily here is a blatant absence of synergy. And if one minister, on his part, have decided to use the instrumentality of a Senate engagement to question the unexplained 2 billion naira, it speaks volumes. And so beyond the fact that we never really departed from budget padding. Nobody has told us that
No, we thought with the experience of 2016.
What came of what came of it? Who has? What is the deterrent? What is the deterrent that came from the 2016 budget padding? No deterrent.
They just transferred people.
No deterrent. And so, even where there is deterrent, Ayo.
Honorable was made the whipping dog.
Scapegoat.
Ayo, do you know that in this country, this 2 billion naira, for instance, is just a fraction of so very many number of funds that have been cleverly either replicated or buried.
In the budget.
So what I'm saying exactly now, however, is that we should look a bit more critically at the fora through which the Honourable Minister for Works, Housing and Power chose to raise questions on that 2 billion.
You didn't agree with it.
I think in-house, between them as executive and members of FEC, they should have ironed that out. But having said all of that, I think Nigerians' time has come for us to really ask questions and keep asking questions. If budget was so godlessly padded in 2016 and it came to light, we are discovering 2 billion is a huge sum, Ayo. And that's just the one that we're talking about. For crying out loud, what is regional housing scheme?
Yeah, okay, Jide, I want to look at it. Now it's not the legislature now. They've not started making their own assertion.
They will still
They've not started tinkering.
No, they will do their own.
Tinkering with the figures because they are empowered to start tinkering with this figure. In the process, they insert their own. Now it is now executive thing. What do you make of this?
You see, the thing is that it's not that Fashola was not aware of this. He was aware of this.
So why did he come out to deny?
He even described it in a he said they told him that they were going to construct family homes. So if he was not aware, how did he know? How did he get that information that they were going to build family homes? When the budget was submitted to him, they added that. I mean, when he submitted the proposal,
apparently he did not agree.
He did not agree.
So why bring it into the Senate? Why can't he expunge
it? No, he cannot. He will not expunge. He left it there. That was what Gemade was saying. But you've come here to defend this. He said, but I'm telling you that it was the finance ministry that inserted this, and that they said they wanted to build family homes. That was what they called it.
What do you make of this?
What I can see clearly is Fashola does not agree with the idea of family homes. He's the minister in charge of that ministry, and he felt it was not effectively carried along. Not that he did not know about this item. No. His answer when Gemade confronted him showed clearly that he knew that item was there. They also told him that they were putting that item. They also explained why they were putting the so-called family homes. But the minister does not agree that at this time they needed that kind of project.
But he would have called his colleague and they would have sorted it out before coming to the Senate.
What if he called his colleague and his colleague insisted that he had to be there? We know how we use power now. Even at your own little level, sometimes you can use power. Because clearly, Fashola would not have gone to that extent if he was happy with this insertion. You see, if he was happy.
So
It's difficult for him to defend something that he did not agree with ab initio. You know? Yes, he knew that they had put it, but he did not agree with the idea of so-called family homes. So when they bring the minister, I'm sure the minister would defend this, and you won't be able to call it budget padding in the end. But the reality is, in this 2017 budget, those who have analyzed it have discovered that the items padded into the budget amount to 145 billion naira. Some of the
paying rent in Aso Rock.
So the thing is, so we have to find a way to solve this problem. We have to solve this problem.
Let me quickly take this commercial break. We'll still be on this budget padding scandal. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, gentlemen. So apparently our legislators, they were so smart in spotting out this item, this 2 billion naira, and I think everybody is now on guard. They know everybody, they are very, very watchful that, look, what happened last year, we can't afford to make it happen.
You know what, before Lomofe talks, you know what they did? The House of Reps and the Senate, they agreed that there will be a public hearing on the budget. And they invited 59 different people, head up of NLC members, TUC members, head of departments, 8 ministers. You will come, you will defend your budget, everyone will see. So any minister who doesn't want to be embarrassed has to do diligent
on his own,
this thing on his own, on the document before him. You have to check thoroughly, because you just go there and those guys will embarrass you. They want to show that the budget padding comes from the executive. That's what. Meanwhile,
originally,
yes, they want to show.
They will add their own.
They will add their own. By the time they will finish, by the time you submit the document to them, it will go to the appropriation committee before. And to go to the committee of the whole. And then go to the appropriation committee. At the level of the appropriation committee, because they see themselves as experts on budget matters, they will now begin to
what they need to insert.
Even allocated figures for the principal officers.
Yes, to the exclusion of even members of the lawmaking body.
Well, Ayo, for me, I think it's a good thing this one came out. I pray that very many more that are not rightfully part of the original budget document also comes out. But my question here is this. Because 2 billion now is standing out between Housing Ministry and Finance Ministry. Are we saying that at the end of the road, we will eventually know what will happen to that 2 billion? Will it eventually be explained away? If it becomes explained away, is it then no longer padding? But my question here is this. Because 2 billion now is standing out between Housing Ministry and Finance Ministry. Are we saying that at the end of the road, we will eventually know what will happen to that 2 billion? Will it eventually be explained away? If it becomes explained away, is it then no longer padding? And
no, then
what then applies to it may jolly well apply to any number of other so-called items. This is my own area of worry.
Let's see what that woman
will give
will advance.
So we're actually waiting for her to take her time. Now moving on, the Presidential Committee on Northeast Initiative has lamented that the 45 billion naira budgeted by the federal government to feed more than 2 million internally displaced persons, IDPs, in the region is grossly inadequate. It says 108 billion naira is required to effectively and efficiently intervene and feed IDPs in camps and liberated communities of the affected states. This may be true, but the greatest problem of the IDPs are government officials and some other who steal from the divert relief materials meant for them. Just last month, the EFCC arrested a councillor and 5 others for diverting 300 bags of rice meant for IDPs. Last year, Governor Kashim Shettima accused state officials of diverting relief materials. It's another thing to have adequate budgets. That's what we're saying here. It's a different ball game. This thing trickling down.
So,
because if there's people 300 bags of rice, and let's do a calculation at 20,000 naira per bag, 22,000 naira per bag, and you can just imagine a councillor that will be doing that. Now they're saying that 45 billion naira is in the budget, that this would not be enough to feed, let's say conservatively, 2 million people in the island.
Well, Ayo, they may have, there is some veracity in that. But my own challenge is not even how much is earmarked for taking care of for those in that emergency situation. My challenge is in the implementation. We have seen all manners of scenarios playing out with these unfortunate people. We have seen how they've been abused, how they've been subjected to all manners of deprivations. So the question to ask here, where for these discussions purposes, where ample fund is allocated, what is the mechanisms for driving implementation? And beyond that, the IDPs, are we looking at a time frame for them to move from the category, I mean the classification of internally displaced persons to fully rehabilitated persons? So these are issues that I think should occupy our minds. No doubt about it, 45 billion naira for 2 million plus persons.
Every day for a year.
Maybe just, so I think what Ndume and the people who are in the presidential committee for the Northeast initiative should do really is to be a bit more empirical.
If that councillor had succeeded in diverting 300 bags, he would have gotten 6.6 million from that. 6.6 million naira if you had diverted at the rate of 22,000 naira. And let's see, when you look at the picture of those people in the IDPs across the world, it takes somebody that is so callous with the situation, with the despicable, level of the way they are living right now, and you still look at those people and you still want to rob them of their entitlements. It says a lot about who we are.
That's what some of us have been canvassing, that the Borno State governor has to really sit up and ensure that this stealing stops. Because, you see, it's unfortunate that the state has found itself in this kind of situation. And the governor has done a lot, no doubt about it.
He has shown leadership.
Even when his enemies will admit that.
Yes, he has shown leadership. Kashim Shettima
has done a lot.
Been
I saw Shettima's wife in Chibok crying like a baby.
No.
So
because nobody knew that at the time he became the governor that they would be experiencing.
Yes, that he couldn't have bargained for this kind of situation. But the stealing that is going on in the IDP camps, he has to find a way to stop the stealing. The abuse of women, and I'm happy with the decision to send female police officers into the IDP camps so that they can keep their eyes on the men, who can keep their crotch in check. They can keep their eyes on those women and ensure that the routine abuse of women in the camps stop. So we are challenging Governor Shettima to do something about the stealing of food meant for IDPs. I heard one of his spokesmen saying the other day that his enemies of the government that are concocting stories about food meant for IDPs being looted. And I said, look, the president himself came out, President Buhari came out to say, look, this stealing of food meant for IDPs must stop.
Even the First Lady alluded to that,
yes,
that she ensures that our food gets...
And that the president also said that it should be investigated. And we have reports and cases of people even arrested, diverting in some cases up to 50 trucks, 50 trucks. Articulated trucks, loaded with grains, meant for IDPs. One was diverted to Katsina. That's where they found it. where they began to sell bags of rice to eminent people in the state. Something meant for the Northeast. But if we look at this figure, what the lawmakers are saying is to intervene and then feed. So this money is not even meant for feeding alone. You have to rehabilitate people. You have to rebuild.
They have to go to school. They have to set up schools in that camp.
If you see, look, you need to go to federal government college, Buniyadi, where they slaughter those children. If you see the way Boko Haram destroyed the school, I wonder where we'll find the money to do total rebuilding, because all the laboratories, no building, not one building is standing in that school. And you know the way they normally build federal government colleges now. No, it will have everything. Hostels, everything. They destroy every building, not a single building is standing in federal government college Buniyadi. So there's a lot of money that will be spent on reconstruction, on settling people down in their community, because we want them to return home. In settling people down, in ensuring that even when they settle down, they are fairly comfortable. That's why we must praise people like Dangote, who have taken it upon themselves
to start building,
to make life better for these people. He's building a resettlement center opposite the Dalori IDP camp, which is the biggest in the state.
And we are also calling on wealthy Nigerians that might have buried their dollars somewhere. Please just help out the IDPs. Yomi?
Yes, I agree with you. And we must also
they are using AC for their dollars.
Using AC for their dollars.
We must also appreciate and encourage the chairman of that presidential initiative, Danjuma. He can do some more in terms of motivation.
He's a philanthropist.
In terms of rallying further support. Beyond this feeding, it's about time we begin to consider resettling. You know, because the primary concept of a camp is temporary.
It's temporary.
Yes, so we must therefore have some kind of time frame. Are we looking at a 2-year plan? Are we looking at an 18-month plan, a 24-month plan? And then in what scope?
Resettlement is incumbent on security.
Honestly.
Security.
Honestly. You
if
can't
those
tell
communities,
me to leave that camp,
look, if you go to the camps, and interview people, they will tell you that they still can't return to their homes. Look at the person who called yesterday, who said he lives in Borno North, telling us all the communities that Boko Haram continues to occupy. You know, the communities along the Lake Chad
Basin. Okay.
Abadam and the rest of the guy was listing towns that Boko Haram still occupies in Borno North. So, do you expect those people, a lot of them have fled their homes, you expect them to go back and then be slaughtered?
They've lost their parents, they've lost
their relations, they've lost their means of livelihood.
And a lot of even children in these camps, they are
orphans. So, where do they go? Some of those children, orphans, okay, where do you put those orphans? You can easily say, oh, I want to close down these IDP camps. There are many orphans. I was reading that 31,500 children have no parents. In Borno, 31,500, they've lost their parents. So where do you put those ones?
It's a pathetic narrative.
There has to be a program to really take down this.
That even gives you the idea of the number of people Boko Haram would have slaughtered.
Yeah.
If 31,500 children have no parents.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, we continue to call on government and all well-meaning Nigerians and organizations to actually support the initiative to see that these people are properly fed and that there is a plan in place to eventually resettle them. I think this is the way to go.
All right. I want to thank you, Yomi Olomofe and Jide Obutitoju, for your intervention today. And that's it on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube. That's youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ezibabu. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.